and life experiences come together through conversation. Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you,
Hey guys, so about 2 years ago, I uploaded a video which asked a very simple question to you, the audience, which was, how was your day?
Ooh, yeah,
Don't make unnecessary journeys. Don't take risks on treacherous roads, both today and yesterday.
Oh, hi, how was your day? And I think,
I'm tired of being told what to do by people.
Excuse me, I believe you have my stapler.
Yeah. Stop arguing. Arguing is just not worth it.
ooh, yeah, I'm gonna have to go ahead and sort of disagree with you there.
Through Friday on Martinez and Defoe Unscripted. I am Angel Martinez. He is Jeff Defoe DeForest. Eat, sleep, riptide, repeat. And as we got to set everything, restart things, get everything aligned. You guys probably heard me ranting on the radio. For those who are listening in on digital radio app, it's things that you have to do to make sure that everything sounds and looks good. So the pause and repeat in between may happen this week. We'll see, kind of alter things for next week. Maybe we won't have to stop at all and just keep it going. But I am Angel Martinez. Of course, he is Jeff Defoe DeForest. We are live in Miami and Tampa, respectively, here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game and the Riptide Media Network. And Defoe, to you, I say good morning, sir. How are you?
It's good to be with you. I mean, fortunately, we have a lot of time here on the program, but that feeling when you don't make it to post time for a show is kind of like, you just missed a train that you went through hell to try to get to on time.
Yes.
And you were totally prepared and you left early and you were ready to go, but then you had to go back to the house because, I don't want to say it, she forgot her suitcase. No, it's usually the other way around. But, just trying to clean it up because I'm telling the story. And then, you get there just as the one train that comes every 6 fucking hours has left the station. And you're like, oh, my God, what do we do now? Yeah. I mean, that was one of my credos always in broadcasting. I tell this to anybody that I work with. I mean, the one thing that you want to always make sure you do is be there at post time for the show because that's what the people are expecting. And then with all of the different stuff that happens, you start getting some weird signs and messages from your computer saying, by the way, there's no way you'll be able to hear Angel. And you realize, okay, this show may not run smoothly, but no, you did a great job, kiddo. You got us up and rolling, and it's great to be with you. I can imagine, I don't know, did you have to open up or bust an ammonia cap under Pete Sheppard this morning after that Celtics turnaround? That was kind of interesting the whole way around. I mean, unbelievable stories coming out of the NBA and the NHL last night. It was great.
It was great. By the way, Gas Pump Guy, I want to make sure I get this in there because he had snuck this in at the very end of Pete's show. But he said, I love hearing Mia. Great interview. Great show, guys. We do appreciate it over from Pete's show. Mia's always got tons and tons of energy, which is nice and very refreshing in the morning. No, Pete was... you know what, Defoe? I really thought that maybe Pete would kind of go off the deep end to see, but he was more, I think, annoyed with Jason Tatum and his post-game conference. It was kind of like one of those things like, hey, Defoe, let's go to the playground and play basketball with our friends because we want to beat them, but we all want to hold hands and play together as one team. And I think that's what he was more annoyed about because it's not the usual stuff that you hear from Jason Tatum, but
I don't find it. I mean, Tatum seems like a decent guy, but he doesn't say anything that's particularly fascinating for my money, one way or the other. I mean, I don't know that I would have been upset with what he had to say. I would have been upset with the fact that there were people who desperately believed that laying 13 points with the Boston Celtics was an infallible monetary strategy. And they today are spitting up blood, my friends, because, wow, I mean, the play, you would have never thought this. How weird is it that both times the Celtics, after just pummeling the opposition so far in the postseason in game number 1 in their home wood or home parquet, how come, I mean, is there an odd pattern here? We were talking about the fix being in with the New York Knicks and the referees, but here we go again with a serious dark cloud of cynicism to cast over the NBA right away. But how odd is it, Angel Martinez, in your opinion, that the Celtics, after smothering the opposition and running away and hiding in game 1 of both the Heat series and this Cavaliers series, have somehow managed to lose outright game 2 to a team that you thought was so desperate in such dire straits that you were wondering if the Cavaliers were going to win a game in the series at all. And they come out a winner. The people of Boston have to be somewhat mystified by these kind of circumstances. Now, they came right back and trashed the Heat in game 3 and went on to win the series in 5, so maybe there's no reason to hit the panic button just yet. I wouldn't think so, because I don't know why I feel this way, but Boston, just based on their regular season, should be able to handle the Cleveland Cavaliers. No, that was, I thought, maybe even a softer draw than the Pacers in terms of level of challenge. We just saw the Cavs stagger around to beat the Orlando Magic in 7 games.
Yep, I thought so too. And that's why it felt kind of weird for me in game 1, where the Celtics fans were like, yeah, we're going to take this by a landslide. We're going to be fine. There's nothing to see here, folks. We're all good. And then yesterday, it was the polar opposite effect, and they should be able to take care of Cleveland. But you're right, though. It's now another game 2.
What an embarrassment that was.
Yeah, where they once again, they lose. And I think that was probably the only thing that Pete was annoyed about this morning, that it is another game 2 in the series that they lose at home. And we mentioned it, I think, ad nauseum even
while
yesterday.
double-digit favorites. That's
Right.
the entertaining aspect of all of this. And maybe we should check with Ohtani's interpreter and see if there was something going on there that the general public was not necessarily made aware of going into that game. I don't know about all of that. It is weird. I mean, you thought the Celtics were vulnerable, even though they had such a great regular season record and essentially dominated the Eastern Conference teams. I mean, look what's left in the Eastern Conference at this point. The Pacers appear to be their own worst enemy, while very talented and very deep. And the Knicks are going to play like 4 guys tonight, I think. I don't think, I mean, they're going to have to see if Clyde Frazier can fit into the old Knicks shorts that he used to wear, because they're going to need some help. I think they may have to go with like a 6-man rotation. Have you ever been in that situation where you've been in some recreational league, Angel Martinez, and you're short a guy? Some guy couldn't make it at the last second. Something came up, and you were only going to have 5 guys running anyway because you wanted to play all of the minutes. And so now you're going to run against a team with only 4 guys on the court. You're on a hockey power play, for God's sake, and it's not an easy thing to do. So you're wondering how the Knicks can survive this, even if Brunson plays tonight. But I thought the people of Boston would be. See, I don't know. How familiar are you with you're working with Pete Sheppard every day. I mean, he is Mr. Boston, right?
Yeah.
They go down the list. It's like Babe Ruth, Larry Bird, and Pete Sheppard. That would be like the number 3 guy that you think of when you think of sports legends that come from maybe the Bambino in the early days. But nonetheless, I mean, he epitomizes what this whole Boston thing. And being a New York guy growing up, I didn't have the same kind of acrimony about Boston teams that a lot of New Yorkers possess. And certainly that would have dissipated over the years. There are many people here in South Florida, largely expatriates of the New York area, that despise all teams from Boston. Just absolutely want to see them fall flat on their face, be face down in the gutter, be an embarrassment each and every season. They're resentful, of course, because as soon as you mention the Patriots and the championships, 6 championships, the first word that pops out of their mouth is cheaters, bastards. I mean, it was very much like the Tom Brady roast, which I tried to watch a little bit of it last night. Angel, I don't know. Did you see this thing? Did you go the distance with that? Watch 3 hours of that?
Oh, yeah. Yep,
you did?
the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah. Which apparently, since you brought it up here, so they edited a portion of it, and we were trying to figure out, well, Debbie, who did the research, was the apparently when she got booed off stage and the boos kept going, they edited it so you couldn't hear Kim getting booed. And I'm thinking, okay, it's a friggin' roast. And if people want to boo, just, okay, that's it. Leave it in there. But no, Netflix edited it out.
Reggie Miller didn't hear it as badly as Kim Kardashian did. And imagine this. I mean, what kind of pieces of crap were on the stage there with Tom Brady? I mean, in terms of their relation to the human race. If Kardashian is getting booed, I mean, what about some of these other characters they had in there? I don't know. I didn't get through that much of it. I thought it was kind of dragging a little bit, to be honest with you. I didn't find it all that hysterically funny. This Jeff Ross guy was good when they were doing these roasts on a regular basis, but does he do anything but roast people?
That's it.
Is that his whole? I mean, imagine that's your job, is to be the roast master. at a time where people are too sensitive now to possibly tolerate this level of insult that was going around. And I mean, we were talking about this yesterday. If you were going to tee it up on anything, it would have been Bob Kraft and the Asian spa. No, I mean every guy that got up there should have at least had one Kraft joke. No,
Sure.
maybe several. Maybe just pounded on this guy until he finally ran out of the arena crying. Believe me, I've left the LA Forum crying on many occasions, and especially the place next door, which used to be Hollywood Park, the racetrack, which it didn't matter what they were running. If they were running thoroughbreds, I'm losing. If they were running the jugheads, the harness horses, losing. But you used to see a lot of celebrities there. And of course, the Forum was rocking. It was a great, great destination for sports, even though it's not in the greatest of neighborhoods, Angel Martinez. Have you ever been to the LA Forum?
Nope.
Okay, and I guess it's what? Totally rejuvenated? Because is this not the site that they built this SoFi Stadium on?
So, yeah, supposedly.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, so that makes some sense because it wasn't the greatest place to get to, as I recall, not when I was living out in Los Angeles. But, yeah, I mean, they have this whole big shindig going on, but I thought it was dragging a little bit. I really did. I'm one of the few people that doesn't find Kevin Hart to be overwhelmingly funny. Although I could see where people find him funny, but he's not really my bag in terms of overall. Like everything he does isn't funny. Is that a fair statement? Maybe that's true of all comedians in some sense, but you see some guys, they just set such a high standard, and I'm not sure that Kevin Hart is that for me, even though he may be for other people. But he got off a couple of decent lines. That was good. But by the time I got past Bledsoe, I was ready to cut it off. I really was.
Well, I think the only person to me that was a major highlight of the night was Nikki Glaser. I mean, after that, the show could have ended there because what a performance by her. And I know it's a roast. People say, well, you don't perform. Yeah. Well, you do because either way, you have to end up bringing it. But with Ross, that's all he does anymore. He doesn't do any more comedy specials. He's the roast master no matter where he goes. And he gets paid, obviously, handsomely for it.
Yeah, did you see the baby he was with? I mean, would you say he outkicked his coverage there? I mean, a fine-looking young woman that was just rapping at everything he did.
That's Nikki Glaser. That's the one.
That was her. She was sitting next to him.
Yeah, that was her. So it was her, and then
when he sat back at his seat, or not when they first came up there.
Oh no, yeah, they didn't see it when they wouldn't. Yeah,
he went back to his like a booth, and he was accompanied by a very attractive woman. And they seemed to be together. I don't think it was Nikki Glaser, but I could be wrong about that because I'm not that familiar with Nikki Glaser either. Although I saw her do some of that shtick. She was the one making fun of Gronk, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
how did we get on this anyway? I was going to talk about the people of Boston. I'm wondering what's going on with these guys. Because you would have to think tonight's going to be a bloodbath. You can't help but have. I don't care what your level of interest is in the two teams, and maybe people really haven't started to embrace what's going on in the NHL playoffs, which you would have to say, Angel, and you sound like, you were a fan of those Broad Street bully type of Flyer teams that just like to beat the snot out of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what will we see tonight? I mean, do they just temper it all down and put game 2 behind them? Or is it going to be just one battle after another in terms of fights on the ice tonight?
I think as soon as the puck is dropped, I think we're going to see another round as well because there's no way. Come on, Defo. We kind of both know this here, especially in Philly. If you have bad blood with somebody, the next time you guys meet each other, I don't care if it's home ice, away ice. You don't forget what happened on the away ice, especially. Yeah. I think Boston, especially the Panthers, are going to be looking for it. I think the fans, more importantly, are going to be looking for it. So I don't see them just kind of coming out there and singing Kumbaya and like, no, we're going to be good. We're going to play a wholesome game. No, I just think, what was it, 89 minutes of penalties? I would expect in this game no less than 107 minutes of penalties.
Oh, wow. You're predicting an over 107 and a hook. Penalty minutes, Angel Martinez on Unscripted with Angel and Defo. I like that. That's bold. I'm not sure. I mean, you would think maybe it turns around, but then you would also have to think that Matt Tkachuk has a big bullseye on him tonight, and that Boston may bring back like some of their more famous goons to attack this guy on the ice tonight. That somehow he is going to be involved in some kind of physical assault that, you look and you go, my God, how could they let that go on? But after that Pasternak thing, where he clearly busted up Pasternak, I mean, there was no debating the decision there. He completely dominated that fight, and in a way that you don't usually see in hockey fights, where you're landing several clean punches to the guy's face and head while he's completely vulnerable and is doing nothing. I mean, offering nothing back. So yeah, I think you're going to see something take place there. It's interesting. Now, how bloodthirsty will the people of Boston be, especially after this beating that was taken at the hands of the Cleveland Cavaliers last night in that Celtics game? Because have you spent a lot of time there? I mean, how did you find the people there? Like we said, you're very close with Pete Sheppard. And does he represent all of Boston in terms of you meet Pete Sheppard and you know what a Boston guy is all about?
Yeah, with Boston, because Boston is it's like Philly. You're gonna either love or hate the town, one of the two. And Massachusetts, for the most part, this is not from me. This is from the people who live there. For many years, even when I resided up there, we're known mostly from Boston on the east side. We're known as mass holes. Now, for those who are tuning in for the first time in this program, a mass hole is considered a Massachusetts asshole. Now, that again does not come from me. This has been notorious in the Boston area for many years.
I don't even think you need to apologize for that one. I mean, that's just very tempered compared to what we were just discussing, the shit that was going on in the Brady roast, which still wasn't even like the best of the best.
No, but I think for Pete, I think Pete pretty much set the tone. The same way like folks in Boston. I mean, they're diehard, right? They called it, one guy called it Title Town, and we've seen that for years when it came to the Patriots. Obviously, the Red Sox finally getting the monkey off their back and winning one. So no, it's there. I would imagine would be just as angry knowing that they should have walked away with it last night, but they didn't. Defense, offense, both sides of the ball were just, it wasn't there. It wasn't there at all throughout the entire game. You thought maybe after a half to be some adjustments, but didn't see anything. So I would imagine Boston fans, I don't know how much they're going to travel up to Cleveland. I don't know how many fans or tickets were sold, because it seems like everybody's borrowing everybody from not attending certain games. But I would imagine you would have some that go up there to Cleveland, but Boston's got to bounce back game 3. And I would see it, unless Cleveland now with the home cooked meals and being home may end up taking one. But there's no way that Boston fans are not upset with the product they saw last night at the Garden.
That was unbelievable. I mean, you would have to think that the Whitey Bulger gang was involved in this thing, fixing this game. Are you kidding me? I mean, how is that possible? They have to be stunned there. I lived briefly in Boston when I got out of school. I had the cockamamie idea. You talk about a pipe dream, Angel Martinez. A buddy of mine and I, the guy's name was Jake. He had changed his actual first name from like Steve or something to Jake. And his last name was Smiley, Smyle. And I spell that out because, of course, if you were a fan of Twizzlers, at one time that was manufactured by Young and Smiley Candies.
Yeah.
Of which this Smiley was the son of the guy that started this whole fucking thing with the licorice. I mean, think about this. The guy's, obviously, coming from a family that has some wherewithal. I don't know. I would imagine the old man is gone by now, because this is like 50 years ago. So we get the bright idea that we're going to go to Boston because they have this like coffee house, a music scene that we perceive there to be. And he, not even being a very accomplished guitar player and not a particularly on-key singer, was going to we were going to go ahead and become professional musicians with me like on congas. This is after graduating college. This was our idea, right? So the guy says, well, we could go to Boston because I can get his jobs there. Because his father, who was Smiley of Young and Smiley Candies, they had a cough drop factory there in Boston, in a town called Norwood, Mass, which I guess was just outside of Boston. So we ended up going up there. I mean, we didn't have any success as musicians, that's for sure. And but it was an interesting experience. I mean, the people were cool there for the most part. Like on the Cape, they were all right. They're perceived to be a little bit on the obnoxious side by a lot of people around the country because, they're beating their chest about the Patriots all the time. But and people see them as, I mean, can we be gentle about this? Cheating scumbags, basically. They had those dynasties. I mean, you had to appreciate the Boston Celtics back in the day, even if you hated them like poison. I mean, just great teams they had. Was a big admirer of the late great Sam Jones, who I had maybe Angel, one of the most interesting conversations I've ever had about anything involving sports with. When the guy was like, it was probably about a year before he died at 80 something. And wow, fascinating. You would never realize he was talking about the racism that he was subjected to in the NBA when he was in there in the late 50s. And it was fascinating. The total recall this guy had was just incredible. So there were a lot of reasons to admire those teams. And yet, for some reason, I don't know, do you perceive that most people outside of Boston absolutely hate, despise, that they spit on any DVD that they come across that has Ben Affleck in it? I mean, they just really don't like Bostonians, who I found when I was living there briefly, and we ended up working in this cough drop factory. It turned out to be a disaster. As guy told us, I don't know, do you always follow instructions? You had a military background, so you would be inclined to follow instructions?
I do, except for building stuff. That's when it's basically you try to put yourself in a visual capacity of how to put stuff together. But for the most part, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'm terrible at it. I really am. And in terms of listening to instructions, I was much more inclined, especially at the time, to do the exact opposite, which is what we did. So this guy tells us, hey, no matter what you do, they made lollipops, too, in this cough drop factory. We're working there. We're supposed to mix, like, this big vat of syrup up, and then they put it in a machine that cools it, and they send it through a bunch of tubes. I mean, it was real, factory type of stuff. And so the guy told us never, under any circumstances, to use the pineapple flavoring in anything. So, of course, what's the first thing we do, man? We pour like a bunch of this pineapple flavoring in there. Before you know it, the whole factory smells like Hawaii. I mean, you would have thought that we were out there. Wow, here we are. They're lining up for the Hawaiian Open, one of the great new tournaments of the year. And cough drops and lollipops are flying off of the conveyor belts all over this factory. Because apparently, I guess the reason that you didn't use the pineapple syrup was because, or flavoring, was because it got too thick and it clogged up all the machines. So that was my experience, like with a regular job. And that was it. I mean, after that, I had to throw in the towel and just figure, let me find something like this that I can do for a living, because it was a disaster. So, yeah, and naturally, they didn't say anything about what we did, because they thought that the son was there to spy on how the factory was being run for his father.
Right.
Which really had nothing to do with it. I mean, but they were very worried. It's like, what is this guy doing in the factory? They knew he was the son of the owner of the whole freaking company. So they had to figure he was a spy. But, it was a good experience there in Boston. I enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed going up there whenever I've traveled there because of well, it wasn't real close, but its proximity to the Foxwoods Casino. And then B, you have a lot of great traditions there. Like the walk up to Fenway Park is, part of the whole trip of going to a Red Sox game. Yeah. Even though, I mean, even in some fancy seats behind home plate, they looked like they were screwed on when Babe Ruth made his debut. I mean, you're thinking, when are they going to modernize this joint? But I guess the people love it there. But it had to be, there had to be concern, no? Last night that something was up with this ball game, because that just didn't look right. And then the other game, which I guess we can get into, because we've got to do some stuff here, but yeah, the other game, I don't know, that was a surprise to me too. I don't know how you felt about that, but they were carrying the chalk players out of the casinos in body bags again, as both the road underdogs prevailed, and prevailed rather easily. It was an amazing night on the NBA front. Amazing. It was. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I want to kind of go back, though, for a moment there when you talk about the factories, because it's funny how when we were growing up, if you got a factory job, it was like the best thing since sliced bread, because you made money. And they used to pay well. When you first started, maybe not as much, but as you get through the ranks in the companies and become like the floor supervisor, shift supervisor, all that good fun stuff, it was great money. Now, not so much. And especially in Massachusetts, you figure my mom and stepdad, mom and my uncle, for the most part, too, had worked for, when we moved to New England, Mom decided to work for Milton Bradley at the time before they moved their stuff to Mexico. And she was, or Mexico for our Spanish friends. But they were making, Mom was making really good money. Prior to them, moving the plant over. They stayed, and then Hasbro came in, bought out Milton Bradley. Milton Bradley continued doing stuff in Mexico, and then they kept doing stuff in Springfield as well. But the money was great, and she rarely complained, but my mom rarely complains anyways. But it was a good time. Everybody got to know each other. It became like family on the different shifts. Everybody got to know who the people were. Now, you're starting at whatever minimum wage is anymore in a different state. Because in California, apparently, they want to make it starting at $50 an hour. I don't know how in the world they're going to get with that one. But it was great back in the day. As far as the second game, kind of disappointing. Disappointing to see. And then they got the next one tonight with Dallas plays. So they played last night. The next game for
Dallas,
them would be
Dallas prevailed over Oklahoma City. That was kind of a surprise because Oklahoma City, they were red hot. Doncic was red hot early in the ballgame. He had like 16 points in the first 8 minutes of the game, and you were thinking, well, the Mavericks will never be able to sustain this. These young guys from Oklahoma City kind of run them out of the building eventually, even though the lead kept growing and increasing, and it was getting into double digits. And then Oklahoma City made this run, including, and this is in the first quarter. It was very entertaining. First quarter, and Holmgren, this skinny string bean of a human being. Go back to any 7-foot+ geek that you've ever seen, and that is Chet Holmgren. No, but somehow this guy is a lot. His constitution is much tougher than you could possibly imagine for a guy who's like a skinny little prick like that. But what do you think? He hit the floor pretty hard on one play and just shook it off and sank a couple of free throws, and you thought, this was the kid that was getting sand thrown in his face when he was in grade school, and you had to throw it way up in the air because he's 7 feet tall since he came out of the womb. But has some basketball athleticism to him also. So that was interesting. He hits a shot that was reminiscent of the Leitner shot in that Duke game. Mm-hmm. Where a guy throws the ball like 3/4 of the court from the baseline at the other end of the floor. This guy makes the catch, and in one motion with 1.3 seconds. Did you see this thing? He turns from the right side and fires off of his right shoulder and swishes, like a perfect shot. And you thought, wow, that's enough to get them back in the game. But somehow Dallas managed to keep him at bay the entire time, which was interesting because I was just beginning to think maybe I have to reassess my opinion about Oklahoma City.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's gonna be, if it was a fluke game, then so be it, because we'll get to see on. So if they played last night, what I was trying to get to was, since they played last night, which was Thursday, the next game should be Sunday because they got that weird 2-day limbo thing in between the travels. So would Sunday be correct in saying that's the next time we're going to see them on the floor? So
they played what, last night? Mavericks? Yeah. Maybe Saturday. I don't know.
But you figure the next time we end up playing, we'll see if OKC is for real. You thought game one, especially after the game, how the guys were, like I said, they had that post-game interview. They were very humble. They talked about how well they gelled and how well they played together. Not so much against Dallas, but could we see another upset by Dallas? Possibly. And then you're going to have now more of the conversation of, is OKC really the ones that they thought were supposed to run with the Western Conference? Because it was, as the season progressed, they talked about how they were going to be better than Denver, and they also talked about how they were better than the Lakers. Well, obviously better than the Lakers because the Lakers are out. Denver's still in it, and which we'll find out what I believe that game's tonight against Minnesota. Yeah. So we'll see what happens in his next game. I'm intrigued to find out if it is on Saturday, and I'll find out here during the break. But more importantly, how this is going to play out, because so far, maybe minus the Boston game last night, has been the only one that's been somewhat of a runaway at the half. So, and I don't mean that by big numbers, but somewhat of a runaway. All the other games have been pretty good, except for, obviously, which I can't stand, as far as New York refs. Not the state, Knicks fans, you guys relax. I'm talking about the refs, because they still put in that grievance to see what they're going to do. I just want to find out how they're going to make out with that one. And again,
they're all over Rick Carlisle, by the way, New York media. They got a picture of him crying like a baby here on the back
You're Jesus.
of today's New York Post. Hey, let's get into this water purification system thing, and then sell some stuff, and we'll come back because there's a lot to discuss. We haven't even talked about. These guys are amazing. I mean, if anybody wanted to argue that the NHL doesn't have the best hockey players in the world, who could be better than these guys? I know it's sort of abstract, but when you see like the passing and the stick handling and the fact that they're doing this on skates, and then on top of that, they're beating the shit out of each other. It's pretty incredible. I mean, a great display at all times in the NHL of just all-out athleticism by these guys who, I mean, they definitely have a different mental and physical constitution because, I mean, there's no way a guy steps on a shoelace in the NBA, he's out for 6 months.
Yeah.
Here, these guys, they have like a liver transplant between periods, and they're back out there. It's incredible. Hey, Doc, just take out the spleen there. Yeah, I don't need it now. I'm going to get out there and play. I mean, that's the mentality, and it's great. All right, so water purification, Angel, what do you have on this thing?
Well, I put some in a bottle for the Florida Panthers so they can take up there to Boston because maybe it'll help them out. At least maybe the first line change will help them with them drinking some nice quality water. And the reason why is because of the Palm Beach water purification whole house water filters, which are ideal if you want filtered water throughout your home, including for showers, your bathroom sinks, and running appliances like your washing machine and dishwasher. Even if you only want filtered water from the sinks in your home, a whole house system can be cost effective and time efficient versus purchasing several under sink or countertop filters that need to be installed and maintained. A whole house water filtration system from the Palm Beach water purification will reduce or totally remove the contaminants in your water, give you healthier skin and hair, improve the flavor and quality of your food and drinks, provide healthier water for your pets and plants, and who doesn't want a healthy pet and or a plant, give you brighter, longer lasting, softer clothes by removing chlorine, and allowing you to breathe easier by removing chemicals that evaporate in steam, especially when you have a cold. So call South Florida's top-rated water guys and schedule a free water test and consultation at 561-801-7337, 561-801-7337, or visit them online at pbwaterpure.com. That is pbwaterpure.com. Make sure you tell them that Deep One I send you, and you get 10% off the first bill that is awarded to you after the installation of this fine, healthier lifestyle.
Oh, that's nice, man. That's a good thing. I love the way you're turning people onto this water filtration system because let's face it, you had me. I mean, even if I didn't care about myself, the pets. As soon as you mentioned the pets, because I have an older dog here and he's in pretty good shape. We feed him some special stuff that we get at a place that makes food. We probably could make it ourselves, but we're too dumb to go ahead and just try that one time and see if it worked. The water they drink too. I mean, extremely important.
It is.
Now come back. We have a lot to discuss here on the program. Big weekend on tap. It's been a sensational ride for any kind of sports fan. I don't care what level of sports fan you are. This has been really like the best of times. It's been great the last couple of weeks, and it just gets better. So, and then we got a guy who's red hot also in AJ Johnson. That unlike other handicappers that we have mentioned here on the program, including us in the Kentucky Derby, are not out to bury you.
Not at all.
They are out to bury your bookmaker, and you can do that by tuning into their show. All right, we're going to come back, right? Angel Martinez, you're going to stick around?
Yep.
Okay,
well,
good.
We are definitely going to be back. Don't forget, if you guys want to make a bet and go just like Devo said, because obviously AJ's on a major role here. BleacherBrothers.com. Go to Bleacher Bet. Yes, Bleacher Bet on BleacherBrothers.com. You guys can place your bets and hopefully make out like AJ Johnson because he's got to be a multimillionaire by now, I would think, and breaking in some good money. But don't forget BleacherBrothers.com. Also go there for all the latest articles that there is about FAU, about the NHL, NFL. Visit BleacherBrothers.com, and you guys have a great great time browsing around and perusing to see what you can do, and then you can also place your bet. You can also call the show here live at 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650, and you can also send your text as well, because we do appreciate the calls and the text, and also here on the social medias. And hey, by the way, LinkedIn, you guys will not be knocked off. And well, we restarted the stream, and so if you restart the stream, now they're able to see the entire show all the way up until 12 o'clock. Except for you, you'll be signing off at 11:30.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Today, now, are you going to stick around after 11:30? Because I have that little conflict on Fridays.
Yeah, no, you're good. I called her Caitlin Clark. I think she's going to fill in for the last half hour, so we should be good.
She played last night, didn't she? Or was that like the home opener exhibitions? Who would have ever thought that you would be paying it? I don't pay any attention to NBA preseason games. I don't even know when they play them. You find out like your team is 0-4, and you're thinking, is there reason to panic? And nobody's really talking about, do you ever analyze NBA preseason games? I never even think, to regard them as anything. Just seems like they want to, go through the motions a little bit and then get to it. What has to be, it's a pretty good grind. I was watching, Luka Doncic last night. This guy's under immense pressure, it seems like, at all times. They don't let him go. They had like two guys on him the entire time chasing him around. And he still goes for like 30 points on high shooting percentages. And
yeah, he's like Brunson.
And it looks like he's playing in slow motion, doesn't it? Much like Nikola Jokic. It's incredible. Must be the Euro step in the water filtration system. Anyway, so we got to move some stuff, right? And then we'll come back.
Yep, now we do.
What we're doing? Okay, very good, Angel.
Yep, so we'll be right back. You guys are watching and listening to the Riptide Media Network on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. We'll be right back.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? They go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding.
Whoa!
Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woohoo! Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Martinez Company here. Martinez, Angel Martinez, Jeff Defoe, DeForest Martinez, and Epo, unscripted, live on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game, right here on the Riptide Media Network. We thank you all for tuning in here on this lovely Friday, though kind of overcast in my neck of the woods here, Defoe. I don't know how it is in your area.
Bright and sunny. Yeah. I mean, literally, the streets are on fire. Supposed to hit right around 98 degrees here in the beautiful city of Lauderdale by the Sea, where I reside, which is essentially just north of the Fort Lauderdale downtown area.
Yeah,
98 degrees. What are you talking about here? Global warming? You're not buying it, Angel Martinez? What was you were studying in the military there? I mean, you had to be looking at the environment at some point in time. This is a blast furnace here today.
Yeah, no,
unbelievable.
Yeah, we studied about it in the military when we were pushing the ground, doing tons of push-ups and sit-ups and everything else. That's what we were studying. We were studying. That was the only environment study that we got, other than running around like crazy maniacs. But I don't believe in that stuff anyways. Or that global. 1 minute they say that, oh, look, we're on fire. Last year, and I love how no one goes, listen, folks. For those who are smart, you guys, y'all can just bypass this conversation. For those who believe all this stuff that it keeps spewing out there, just go back.
I believe it. I do. I mean, you and I are on opposite sides of this thing. But
do you?
Yeah, no, something funky is going on here. It's 98 fucking degrees. That's what I'm looking at today. And it was never like that. Never. That's just here. I mean, everywhere you look, you turn on the news. I mean, they're not faking this. They're tornadoes tearing up places that have never had a tornado. They had an earthquake in New York. It's insane. Angel, I don't know, man. You might want to rethink your position. But I don't, I don't argue this kind of stuff with people in general because we're too busy trying to figure out if it would be advantageous for the Knicks to sign John Starks for tonight's game and see if, he couldn't redeem himself for that 1 for 47 performance he had many years ago when Pat Riley kept telling him, just shoot it, kid. You're all we got. You're all we got. So,
Gaspon guy said it's cloudy down in Southwest Florida as well, but no, I think this playoff series and NHL, NBA included, obviously it's too early for MLB, even though the Phillies right now one of the better teams in baseball. But
Phillies have easy pickings, by the way. I believe they're in town here in South Florida tonight to take on the lowly Miami Marlins.
Do they still have on Friday nights, Defoe, that you know of? Like, didn't they have like Latin night on Friday and like club nights on Saturday to try and bring people in?
Whatever they're doing to try and bring people in, this stench that they're leaving out there every night of losing, and then more theories that they're going to sell off everybody. Honestly, I've never received a better inside piece of information than I did from this guy that I've known for years, who would be the last guy inclined to say anything negative about the Marlins organization. I mean, he's a real loyal member of the team and part of its spirit and everything. And he just told me, he said, take the under this year. It's going to be a disaster. So, I mean, they did nothing in the offseason. They brought in this guy from the Rays, and everybody thinks that, I mean, who was this guy, Peter Bendix, with the Rays? You would know because you were there in town. I mean, was he a bat boy? What the hell was this guy?
You got me.
Had you ever heard of him before he surfaced as the new president of all operations for the Miami Marlins. And people don't pay a whole lot of attention to what's going on with them anyway, but they at least had like some semblance of a decent story last year where, I mean, in spite of the fact that they had their ace go out about midway through the season, Sandy Alcantara, who wasn't himself anyway before that, coming off a Cy Young season, they made it into the postseason under a first-year manager. They won all of these one-run games, and, they made a couple of really sharp acquisitions, including trading a frontline pitcher, Pablo Lopez, for Luis Ariz, and then acquiring Berger and Bell at the trade deadline. So, and you're thinking, wow, this is really a change of pace, totally. Then they bring in this schmuck from the Rays. They get rid of the young lady, Kim Ng, who had been a pioneering force among women sports executives, came up with like a stroke of genius at the end of last season. They bust her out of here, and they bring in this guy that nobody's ever heard of from the Rays organization. Because why? Because the Rays organization deserves this kind of respect, and yet does it apply to everybody? That's the question, Angel Martinez. Because so far it's a clown show. They're ready to sell everybody at this stage, and we're not even midway through May yet. Can you imagine?
Right.
And on the threshold, the precipice of mathematical elimination. Could you be a bigger disgrace? That's the question. You're asking if there'll be any fans there. There'll be nobody there, man. You'd have to be out of your mind to, embrace this, what's going on here. And yet fans always say, oh, well, I'll never go to another game again. And then they end up going. But I would have to say that at this stage, as much of a baseball fan as I am, I have little interest in schlepping down there and going to a game.
Well, according to Joe Q, there's a text that came in as well, but he says, Saturdays are now club, you silly knight. If you're a Marlins fan, we'll club you for thinking we're showing up was a good idea. So that's one. And then Gas Pump Guy says, while you were in the military, thank you for your service. I greatly appreciate it. No problem. I do it again. Everybody knows who knows me. I would definitely do it again and not even think twice about it. But no, it's funny, though. They spent, it was $1 billion, if I remember correctly, to build this venue down there in Miami. And I can't believe
there was a lot of opposition to that. And I would imagine, you talk about under the table payments. We're talking about Miami politics here. How do you get anything done in Miami politics? I mean, it's motivated by like two things. Back in the day, cocaine, and now it's obviously got to be some kind of under the table cash, but there was immense opposition to the whole concept. Now, look, I don't know. Is it advantageous for a city to have a team? I guess. I don't know in terms of putting a presence out there. People see this beautiful shot of the skyline of Miami outside the stadium. And does that, if you're living in Minnesota, like we were talking about the other day, does it make you think, hey, I'd like to be there? Instead of ice fishing in the middle of May in some little hut that we drove out on Lake Winnetonka. I don't know. I mean, is it good for the city's overall imaging around the country to have a professional team here? You would say maybe to a certain degree that's true. But no, it was greatly opposed, the whole concept of where they were going to put this ballpark. It ended up being on the old Orange Bowl site. But I mean, it's tough access for somebody like that is where I am, which it would normally be about maybe a 35-minute drive if there wasn't any traffic there. But at that time of the day, there's massive traffic. I mean, you're going nowhere here in South Florida. Up and down 95 is your only access road, and that's when these games start. So you would literally have to drive to the stadium and sit there at some gas station for like 8 hours waiting for the gates to open up.
Yeah, but I find it hard to believe, though, Defo, that it can't even. It's such a Florida. First of all, has such a huge Latin presence that I can't believe, especially in the Miami area, that it can't. You have a hard time bringing Latinos. And we love baseball. Don't get me wrong. We absolutely love it. But I find it that you can't even connect with the fan base that you should be able to bring in. And, I understand the club thing, I think the Friday night, Latin night stuff. I get it. But good Lord, you can at least, what's the seat venue in there? What, some 28,000 seats or something?
No, I think it's 37,000. It's like a reasonable number. It might be a little less than that. But I mean, the stadium itself, once you're in there, it's fine. I mean, when you go there, if you were going to go to a baseball game, it's excellent. Even in the crummy seats that are in the upper deck and the outfield, you have a reasonably decent view of the field. And I don't think the seats are overwhelmingly expensive that are in the lower level there. And almost any seat there, whether you're near home plate or all the way out in the left and right field line, is a pretty good seat. Very comfortable. They do a decent job. I mean, I don't know if it's the same highway robbery. I guess the concessions you would have to say aren't necessarily favorable to the consumer, but
no.
yeah, but I mean, at least they have some decent stuff. It's not a bad experience once you're there. If there were big crowds, you would never be able to get out of the parking garage, and that's not necessarily a place that you want to be. The old Orange Bowl neighborhood there, rolling around, with your 2 9-year-olds at 12 o'clock at night. So, but the Marlins, the good thing about the Marlins right now is they're involved in a lot of quick ball games because they're getting shut out or nearly no hit every night. And so the games are only taking like a couple of hours. So you're back out on the road. If they start at 6:40, like by 9 o'clock, you're on 95 and on your way home. It's this year, I think, is the biggest disgrace that we brought upon this organization since its inception, which is saying a lot if you think about what it's been through. And yet, like I said, I mean, everybody looks to your neck of the woods there, Angel, and they're thinking we all need to be like the Rays, where we operate with zero cash, except for the manager, and then beyond that, we have no fan base and just an impossibly difficult stadium situation. Where, I mean, I don't know, did they decide anything there about building a new ballpark for the Rays?
So there was, ironically, as you say, there was some pushback that came through this morning. And I mentioned it on Pete's show, Fox 13 here locally, the Tampa News, talked about how St. Pete, and I want to see Defoe, from Jeff Defoe DeForest. Now, this is beyond the broadcasting aspect. Hear this statement. I want to see if it makes sense to you.
All right.
Now, the city of St. Petersburg wants to see the plans that they cannot see. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it sounds like the Trump, documents case, doesn't it? Where the judge doesn't know what the fuck to do, so she just says, let's table it all.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, the funny thing is they're pushing back because there was a couple plans in place of what they wanted to do out there at the gas district. And no, it's not gaslighting for anybody who thinks that what the deal is. There's like multiple, they want to put up affordable housing, supposedly now. And this is a killer. This is the big holdup here because they want to see, is it really going to be affordable housing? Anybody who lives in St. Pete proper, anybody. By the way, I never said that word before. My fiance started saying it to me originally because proper. Like, You ever been to Chicago proper, Philly proper? Listen, I live in the city. I never used proper. It was like I lived in the city. That was
proper, sounds like something that comes with a tariff in England.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no, wherever you're from. I mean, we get the picture. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. But anyway, so in St. Pete, if you live downtown, you are not spending less than, I would say, on average, between $1,700 to $3,500 per month in an apartment, condo, whatever you want to, not a condo, but at least your apartment. So now they want affordable housing at this particular place. Along with, they're going to put up an African American museum at the very east corner, northeast, or something like that. One of the corners of the ballpark. They're going to put that there.
I'm sure those lily white Midwesterners that occupy a lot of the city there are very much fans of the idea of spending public funding on a African American museum.
Yeah, but it's funny to me the stuff they end up putting together because every plan changes every single time. They're going to add this. They're going to. So
it always is the way, though. I mean, with this stuff. I mean, and somehow it gets done. That's the weird part.
It is, but to say that you're going to have affordable housing, that's like me going to Miami in the highest of the richest areas and telling the mayor, Mayor, I know I'm supposed to be paying $5,500 a month. How about we go with $900? You know what the Myers?
That's what's happening here, though. It's happening like Bal Harbor, one of the richest areas that you could possibly have any kind of property in. And I think somebody came there, and said, "Yeah, okay, we're going to put a bunch of low-cost housing projects up here." That went over well, with the people that won't attend an event unless it's Gucci bag night. I mean, please.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, look, Angel, how long you could look at almost every situation. I don't know that you could find one where it was actually beneficial for the public to fund these stadium development projects and constantly be rewarding what essentially are very lucrative private enterprises with free property and and the expense that never goes away. I mean, these cities are going to be swimming in a sea of red ink forever that have established these new facilities. I don't know. Do we know of any where the municipality didn't get completely screwed? I mean, the Miami one is the most fugazi of all, and then it was decided by a best of 5 vote of 3 lunatics that they were going to build this thing. Of 5, best of 5 votes of they had 5-person council.
Right.
I think the vote was 3-2, and at the last second there was a reluctant change by somebody that swayed it towards the idea that building this expensive ballpark for a team that nobody cares about was a good idea. It always comes with the promise too that they're going to take out a blot of a neighborhood and turn it into something spectacular for, the people that maybe what would be candidates for this low cost housing, and
Right.
they're going to spruce up the neighborhood, and that's always a total lie, also, because the neighborhood looks even worse around some of these facilities than it ever did. That's true in a lot of cities, though. I mean, it's not South Florida alone. If you go by the stadiums there in Houston, which I have been, there's like a huge homeless section there of
Yeah.
people just living right on the highway. As you turn the corner from what is a very promising, ritzy, sort of upscale, upbeat neighborhood with a lot of restaurants that's near their arena, and then right around the corner is what is it, Minute Maid Park or something?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in between, it's just a blot on society. It really is. Those promises are always extremely veiled and unfulfilled. Where the city is going to get a serious upgrade in the surrounding area, and it's going to become more commensurate with living conditions that people would find much more favorable. That never happens. But yeah, good luck with that. I mean, it's wild. I mean, I'm with you. I would have thought baseball would be a big hit in the state of Florida because you could play baseball year round here. But
Right.
it's essentially been how could you characterize it any other way but almost an outright disaster?
No, that's just it. And even figure, so across the pond, as we say over there in Philly and Jersey, Camden built this beautiful minor league ballpark. And it was across from the old RCA building there. And it was RCA or Campbell's Soups, I believe it was. So they made this beautiful facility for the Camden River Sharks. And it was like, all right, we're going to rebuild the area, kind of configure things in Camden, make things beautiful. They already put the amphitheater out there. There was a lot of concert venues that people go to out there in the summertime. And then all of a sudden it was like poof, and they went away. It was like, what the heck happened? And now I believe they're going to also tear down this stadium. And like I said, it was nice because you had the backdrop of the Schuylkill River. And then, of course, the city of Philadelphia, you could see if you were sitting behind home plate over by right field and some of Camden. But thankfully, they took away the jail that they put. This is things that blow my mind.
Camden as being one of those places that you especially want to have a favorable view of either. I don't know. You say Camden, New Jersey, I immediately think, back to one of the more entertaining television boxing products that was out there. Dwight Muhammad Qawi, the Camden Buzzsaw, my friend.
Yeah.
Tough son of a gun, man. He used to pin his head right to your chest and just bang away to the body, man. He was like a mini Joe Frazier. He was great. But no, Camden didn't strike me as being a place that would have a huge tourist influx at any time.
No.
To come see the ballpark.
Not at all. And they try to spruce it up a little bit with Rutgers over there, Rutgers, the state university. They're trying to do things better over there, but it's the people. People just don't want to. Some people can.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, Joe Q says it was Campbell's Field. Thank you for that. And then he says, from what I know, the county didn't extend the lease. Rutgers Camden now uses the field without most of the stands there. And that's what I mean. It's so freaking dumb. It was a beautiful facility. And if you wanted to go, I mean, it was cheaper cheaper than if you went to over there at the bank at Citizens Bank Park. But you know, you can go. You could even walk over the bridge if you wanted to. And a lot of people thought that I was bananas when I used to do it. If you look like you belong in the area, no one's going to bug you. But if you look like a tourist and decide you want to bring a camera, Sony camera on your chest with straps and everything else, no one in Camden, just like in Philly, walk around with these. Well, some of them are photographers as well, but. I mean, if you look like you're from the area, no one's going to bother you. I find it where these...
Or if you look like Dwight Muhammad Kwawi.
Yeah,
that's going to bother you either, man. The guy was built like a fire hydrant, man. You got to check this guy out. Light heavyweight. I don't think he ever won a championship. He might have. But he was in there with some real tough customers that were around at the time. But yeah, I mean, look, you picture that being very much like Patterson, New Jersey. Or whatever. I mean, like one of these neighborhoods that you're not comfortable necessarily walking through. But I mean, I would stand out like a tourist, an old Jewish man rolling through Camden, New Jersey right now. You're likely to hear something along the lines of, "What the fuck are you doing here?" It's not good. But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. I can't believe it. You could go on about, there are a couple of articles about the Marlins, believe it or not, in the New York Post, as you know, they were talking about baseball. And it's pathetic when you think about it. But we got a guy back for Louis Arise, a very exciting ball player. Was a guy that was kind of the epitome of what you would want to try and link the Latin crowd to a team that has essentially a fan base that might be 5,000 strong, of people that actually, I can't imagine, like, could you be one of those guys? You don't see this anymore as much, but where a guy goes to like every game and he's got scorecards. He's even got like that season-long thing, like he was a coach in the Little League or something, where you got the season-long scorecard. No, Johnny, that night you were 2 for 4. I got it right here. And the guy's like keeping score. Does anybody do that anymore? That used to be like a standard line in any broadcast. Well, if you're scoring at home, that play went 6-4-3. I don't think you're thinking to yourself, who the hell is scoring at home? I mean, what lack of a life do you have to have if you've got a scorecard out, listening to a ball game on a fucking radio, and you're sitting there going, "Hey, did he say 6-4-3? That's what I thought he said." So you got to write it down. I don't know. Did you ever score a ball game? Were you into that?
No.
No? Okay.
No way. But you would see, I mean, in Philly, you would see a good handful of fans used to do it. And down here with the Threshers.
It was big when I was a kid. I mean, I was glad I learned it because you had to be able to score a ball game in some kind of code that you could understand if you were announcing games, which I ended up doing for a few years with the University of Miami team. That was, and it was a high level of college baseball. So, you didn't want to sound like a schmuck. And, that was the only way to recap the game. So it was good. I mean, other than taking, like I took French instead of Spanish, that was a mistake. This was good that we were scoring ball games as kids. And, years later, I mean, it turned out to be a very necessary and useful skill. And you don't want to get a job as a team's play-by-play guy and then have to ask the guy, "Hey, so how do I do this?"
Exactly.
It doesn't look good, right? So that was a useful thing. But it was common back then. I mean, people would buy a scorecard and actually score the game with the code that is appropriate. It wasn't all that complicated, but sometimes it was hard to recap. And God forbid they should bat around, my friend. Oh, that's when chaos happened.
Yeah, I would imagine. I can only imagine. But there's some people like at the Threshers, you still see it. Philly used to see it a lot, like I was saying before. I'm trying to think where else that I've been to where I've seen it. PNC Park.
Yeah.
Guy used to be behind home plate, and now, of course, I don't know if it's still the case.
There's always one old geezer that's doing it, right? And they zero in on him on the TV broadcast.
Well, I like it when they try to show their grandkids, and obviously if they're young, because if they're older, the span of attention is really small. But I like when they bring them, like, "Oh, look, here's what you end up doing," and then the kid still looks like, "Grandpa, what is that?" It's a pencil.
No, I mean, there would be no way. I mean, you would not be able to pull the cell phone away from your grandkids today. Which is often a problem for me with my grandchildren, who 5 and 9 years old, and soon to be 6 and 9. And wow, I mean, I can't believe the reliance on the cell phone. They have to ration out the time that they're allowed to use it. And you know how like you're trying to quit smoking or something, anything that you've been addicted to, unfortunately, maybe back in the past, a little bit of cocaine. Where you're saying, oh, I haven't done this for like, and you're just trying to hold out, maybe even dieting. All right, you're trying not to eat for like several hours or whatever, and the time it becomes torturous, and that they can sense when the time is nearly up, or where they're back into a position where they can use the phone again. And that's what kids are doing. I mean, does it surprise you when you see that at games that guys would pay? Did we talk about this? I think maybe a couple of weeks ago, where people pay a fortune to be sitting courtside at these basketball games, and then they're on the cell phone the entire time.
Yep.
I mean, you talk about something that has just taken us and taken over our heads. How many times do you find yourself like just mindlessly picking up your cell phone and looking at it, even though you realize you just looked at it 5 minutes ago?
I think for Debbie and myself, unless we're doing like we're researching or looking for something, most of the time I'll glance through it like in the morning just to see if there was something that I missed in between. And then for a good portion of the day, don't really care for it because I try not to get myself to any kind of habit of constantly looking at it. And then towards like the afternoon, I'll take a look as well. Like after the show, for example, I'll take a look to make sure I didn't miss a thing. And then maybe the evening time. But I've seen people where, and first of all, if you are driving, you talking about a humongous pet peeve of mine.
Oh yeah, no, it's dangerous as hell. Imagine that. Yeah.
You'll have, I don't know what it is with people, and here's a steering wheel, but obviously I can't see in front of me because I got the cell phone directly in front of me, and then all of a sudden it's the brakes like, oh, there's a car there. Imagine that. Yes, there is a car. Or the people that walk around aimlessly everywhere, and they'll run into you like, oh, sorry. Yeah, if you have your phone down, or maybe not, not watching it whatsoever.
Should be so totally illegal to be using a cell phone while you're driving, especially. I mean, look, even hands free, you're still distracted. You're punching up a phone number or whatever, and you look down for a second. I don't know, with your driver's. Did you have like a driver's education course? We did in New York. You couldn't get your license. Like they didn't allow like every 12-year-old to drive a car like they do in Florida. You had to be actually 18, and you could get it at 17 if you took like private driving lessons, or you had to wait, to take the course in school, which I found to be very, very useful because they kind of showed you to drive. And this is in New York and New York City. They showed you to drive thinking that almost like you were rooting for the New York Jets, like whatever can go wrong is about to go wrong. so you became super cautious, and it was good training, but you don't see that anymore. And one of the things that you knew never to do is take your eye off the freaking road. That was like hammered into your head. Like you want to be looking, you see two cars, a ball rolls into the street there, boom, there's probably a kid right behind it, right? So, they taught you to kind of be heads up, which... you can't possibly do that while you're on your cell phone. We know this. I mean, I want to scream. I don't know. What do you do, Angel? Do you like make a face at the guy as you look over to his car and like you're trying to get his attention and make an ugly face? Because I'm afraid to address anybody anymore because there's a likelihood they're probably packing heat if you're in Miami.
I basically end up talking to myself, which Debbie had to get used to in the very beginning, but then I found out her sister does the same thing. But it's like, because if you say something to somebody, you never know what happens. So I just like, all right, here's another idiot. Just, again, phone up and just looking for useless stuff. The other one that kind of cracks me up along it as well, I don't know how many ungodly selfies you have to take of yourself. I don't get it, but you'll see it. Thankfully, though, you don't see it as much. I don't mind if you're at the stoplight. All right, I get it. As long as you pay attention when the light goes green.
Yeah.
But you'll see people in the corner dash of their car because now, of course, like people can't do stuff on their own. They have to go to either Instagram or TikTok or something else to learn now how to take new selfies. So you'll see them and the puckered lips and everything else. And, oh, that's not a good one. Let me try from the inside. Go, oh, that's not good. The sun. Can we move the sun, please? Can we move it? Because it's ridiculous on how much I just don't know. How self-absorbed are you? And I'm not trying to do the whole judgy thing here but do you really put out 100 selfies of yourself per day in every different angle? And like when you walk down the street, oh, it's 11 o'clock. I have to take my 11 o'clock selfie. if you're that obsessed with taking that many pictures of yourself to post it everywhere, why don't you just put a billboard up for the day, pay whatever the digital companies are charging, $100, $500, just so everybody can see you? Because now basically people are taking you and all your surroundings and making a composite of you. Because that stuff just drives you bananas. And Gas Pump Guy says that this is one of my biggest pet peeves. I can't stand people who are on the phone while driving, as he says the same thing as pretty much what we're saying as well. But it's ridiculous. I just don't, the selfie thing, I get it when we're with friends and stuff like that, or if there's, you and I could be walking, Defo, somewhere in Miami, and we see something that's like really neat, but we're walking, and then we make sure everything is good, take a quick selfie, keep it moving. But when you have to walk, snap, holy moly. I would imagine like, oh, can I show you my phone? Your phone or your portfolio? Which one is it? Because it's insane. To me, at least. I don't know.
The world has changed. There's no doubt about it. Being one that was reluctant to be in pictures, I was always a little bit camera shy in that regard. I would have been the least inclined to be going crazy with selfies or a selfie stick or anything like that. No, it's pretty funny. I mean, the world has changed. Let's face it. Like I said, you would take a kid to the ball game. You were talking about this. Conceptually, it sounds great. I mean, it's what America was built on. It's Holy Norman Rockwell. What are we looking at here? We got Grandpa, his son, and his two grandchildren. They're at the ball game. They got a hot dog. They got a soda, and got themselves a couple of hats, and they're having a grand old time. And look at that, a pop-up to the stands there, and Dad makes a great catch. It was real Americana type of stuff. But now, I mean, these kids would be pinned to the phone the entire time.
Yep.
And, that's rather unfortunate because you're thinking you're paying to be entertained. And look, I mean, both the NBA and the NHL, you would have to say, I mean, especially since we're getting this shit for free. I understand you might be paying for some kind of service or whatever, to get television these days. But nonetheless, I mean, you don't have to pay any additional charges to see these games. And they've been wildly entertaining. They really have. I'm glad there's something on every night.
Mm-hmm.
I dig the aspect of that was crazy. I mean, the gods of gambling were calling. Were they not calling your name, Angel Martinez, and making you look at this game a little bit curiously because you had a blowout in game number one of that Boston series against the Cavaliers. And all of this rhetoric started to surface. People are researching, well, that's the most 25-point wins in the history of the NBA in a single season by any team. And you think, wait a minute, these fucking guys had like Bill Russell, they had Hondo Havlicek coming off the bench. And they couldn't set a record like this. This bunch of, I don't know. I mean, they have some good players on the Celtics. Are they that deep? I mean, I've become kind of a Derek White fan over the last couple of years. I actually liked him before he sort of emerged. I'm looking at this guy because I like the guy that does a little bit of everything, but doesn't get the attention necessarily of the two stars on the team, in this case, Tatum and Brown.
Right.
And maybe, Porzingis kind of stands out a little bit, even though he's a factor, but not an overwhelmingly major factor. But definitely will help them. I mean, would you think they need to have Porzingis back in action if they're going to win the championship, which I'm still thinking Boston, even after getting clobbered last night. Maybe that's why Pete Sheppard seemed like he was under sedation today because while he should have been outraged by the performance, most people think they're going to shake this off like they did against the Heat and come back and bounce the Cavaliers right out of the postseason. But that was so unanticipated, and yet the signs were all there, weren't they? You had a team that was now going to be getting 13.5 points. An enormous amount of points to be laying in a postseason situation. And you had to think that, something was going to happen that was going to keep Cleveland at least, within double digits last night?
Yeah.
And people discount this Mitchell as being, he hasn't been talked about like so many other guys that are standing out, like Gilgeous Alexander, and deservedly so. The Timberwolves, and these young guys that are Brunson is shining. Anthony Edwards, I was blanking on there for a second. I needed your help there. Hey, the old man's freezing. But I mean, those guys are getting a lot of attention and well deserved. I mean, they've been brilliant. But Doncic, of course, is always going to get his share of attention. But Donovan Mitchell, I mean, he hasn't really been getting that kind of high praise. And yet last night, wow, that was something, including that bank shot, which was one that you would have called. I mean, speaking of Sam Jones, I mean, yeah, that was quite a run that they had and a shocker. I think that was constituting a complete shock to everybody's system that somehow Cleveland rallied and won that ball game. It was great.
Yeah, because I didn't expect Cleveland at all to even, and it's nothing against Cleveland. I know they're still up and coming. They have a few pieces left to make another contentional run to win their second title. But to me, Boston was dominant. They were supposed to be dominant against Cleveland. We saw it in game 1. Game 2 obviously showed it for Cleveland, which you never want to lose one at home. If you hit the road, and again, the hometown crowd will definitely show up in numbers to at least try to push a team. And we're seeing it with the Knicks fans. Knicks fans are traveling everywhere they possibly can. They're like Eagles fans. They travel in droves. But you would think, I'd hope, come Saturday night, if the game is on Saturday, I think it might be more on Sunday because of that 2-day travel rest thing. I was thinking that Boston would end up coming back, but Cleveland, if they played the way they did last night, again at home, this series could be a complete different turnaround. And then could we see a Cleveland Knicks series? And what kind of numbers are you pushing for that type of series versus Boston versus New York, especially with the refs?
Yeah, I somehow don't see Cleveland winning the series. Maybe they just caught a fluke last night. And very similar, though, like we said. I mean, some disturbing trends there if you were suspecting that there was underworld influence on NBA action, which, once again, where are you, Adam Silver, to answer our allegations, our assertions that this thing is not on a level after watching a couple of the things that have happened in the series so far. But, yeah, I don't know. I think Boston will rally like they did against the Miami Heat. That I don't like to call it a wake-up call, but they realized that they can't be that flat and watch Cleveland just roll right through them like that. And they're going to have to do something about Donovan Mitchell and hope somebody else, Cleveland will have to hope somebody else, rises to the occasion and gets something done. But to see them winning, Cleveland coming back and winning 3 out of the next 5, not sure I buy that. The Oklahoma City thing, that was interesting because now they're in a position where they need to take one in Dallas, right? Yep. Otherwise, they find themselves down 3-1 in the series. And so we'll see if they can rally. And you would have to think, I mean, if Indiana isn't holding all the cards tonight in that series, then I don't know about laying 7.5 because you might get one of these, odd situations where the scrubs, go out there and battle like maniacs and guys that you never heard of are coming off the bench and they're making contributions and somehow the Knicks hang around and lose by 6. And then, you're sitting there choking because you had the winning team, but you coughed up the points and you feel like a fool because you're being separated, very unceremoniously from your capital. So, but I think the Pacers showed me enough that they should be able to win tonight regardless of, whether the Knicks are badly depleted or not. And I don't know what happens with Brunson. I mean, Brunson played the second half of this game the other night. So how questionable can he be? I know that those kind of things can swell up and actually be more of an impediment after the game than they were during the contest. But, I don't know. I mean, do you sit him out and just concede one to the Pacers tonight? If you're Tom Thibodeau, I can't imagine that's part of Brunson's mentality.
I don't know. I don't think you sit him out, but and I don't see that mentality either. Because I mean, we saw the other night if they were minus 17 with him being off the floor for a few minutes, you can only imagine without Brunson. And I've said it since even the Sixers series. Without Brunson on the floor, the Knicks do not advance to the next series. He has become the heart and soul of this team, even with Hart, no pun intended, there on the floor as well.
When did Hart become Wes Unseld on the boards, too?
I don't know.
He's got like 40 rebounds in the last couple of games.
Yeah.
He was one of those guys that had a nice overall floor game, that you could respect, even though he wasn't shooting well or scoring a lot of points. But then he started scoring, and you're almost astounded to see how many rebounds he's grabbing.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. But again, I think without Brunson, New York is looking at two different teams. We're not looking in the same way if that's the case. I don't see him sitting him down, even though with that sore foot, unless it's to the point where Brunson himself knows, like, all right, you know what, maybe I do need to set at least one game out because we're being up 2-0. Sit one game out, you take one loss in Indiana, and then try to bounce back for game 4. But I don't know. Or you just play him half the minutes, if that's the case. But that means you have to utilize that bench the best you possibly can. So it's going to be
there's really no bench there. I mean, they're likely to have Spike Lee get some minutes in this ball game. I literally think they're going in there with like 6 guys that can play. So we'll see. And the hockey continues. I mean, this is going to be great tonight. I couldn't be... when are you looking forward to them dropping the puck in a hockey game where you don't want to miss one split second of the action? And that would be Bruins and the Panthers tonight. I haven't always been the biggest supporter of the Panthers, even though they're the local team. There was reason, to think that the management there was, a little bit fugazi. But they've acquitted themselves very well. I mean, they put a hell of a product out there the last couple of years. Seem to be making a lot of good moves from a franchise standpoint, and the Bruins and the people of Boston have to absolutely despise these guys. And then on top of that, I mean, they won the last fight. It was clear. I mean, you would have to say not only did they beat the shit out of the Bruins on the ice on the scoreboard, but they literally beat the shit out of the Bruins on the ice. Because that was as one-sided a hockey fight as I can recall seeing in recent memory. So we'll see. I mean, that's going to be a lot of fun tonight, Angel Martinez. Looking forward to that. And we'll be back. Now, are you going to go to distance? Are you going up until 12 o'clock?
Yep, I'll take it to the distance. And so therefore we can lead everybody into the weekend with a high note.
Beautiful.
Some fun music. But Devo, as always, sir, have safe travels.
I got to run to Gulfstream Park. So we're in between the Derby and the Preakness here. And the Preakness is going to be a dramatically different race. Then and we did speculate. I didn't find anything more out about that. Do you think that Otani's interpreter, Matsuhara, what was the guy that taught the Japanese jockey who was on Forever Young not to claim foul against Tyler Gaffalione, who had him in a headlock while they were going down the stretch?
I don't know. Unless Joe Q can answer that one for us. You guys can hear his show, also eligible here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, the game on Saturdays, but from 10 to 12.
No, those guys have to be all over that story, man. That was...
You would think.
Kind of wild, yeah. And it impacted a lot of people. I know a friend of mine had a big exacta if they had put the other horse up. And you don't see, we've had one disqualification in the history of the Derby, which I benefited from. But nonetheless, that rarely happens. And yet easily could have made a case for it. No doubt about it.
For sure. That's for sure. But
yeah.
Devo, thank you, sir. I do appreciate you.
Okay, yeah, pleasure, man. Like I said, there should be tremendous happenings over the weekend, so I'll look forward to talking to you again on Monday, my friend. And then you'll have another Predators game under your belt, will you not?
So I don't call.
Oh, is this game the game postponed?
Yeah. So the one that should have been played. Yeah, the one that should have been played last night was not played in Louisiana, so they had the week off, and then the next game is next Thursday, against the Desert Hawks that they lost to at home. So they're hoping that they can bounce back next week against them. It's at 8 o'clock Thursday night against the Odessa West Desert Hawks there from Texas. So
now, do you travel on the road to do these broadcasts?
As much fun as I would have with the team on the road, no, I stay home and watch the broadcast from the home studio.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, so you do it like over the video or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Because, that would be something. I mean, Angel Martinez packing up, heading to West Texas with the Predators, getting off the team plane. Oh, well, I would imagine, they're probably not flying private charter flights, are they? This team?
No, I don't think so. Not yet, at least. Well, unless
They're on Silver Airways, hoping to get to Orlando. Flights frequently delayed. When it says that right there, in the chart they give you to see what flights are available, that's never a good sign. All right, thanks very much, my friend. Always a pleasure, and I'll see you on Monday.
All righty. And you guys were hanging around here until the end of the show. Of course, I'll be back here until 12 o'clock. So thank you all for joining us here with Defo and myself, Jeff Defo DeForest. Myself, I am Angel Martinez. Martinez and Defo Unscripted. You guys are hearing the show, of course, live and watching the show on the social medias as long and as well on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Don't forget, you can check out the live shows as well on broadstsouth.com, and you guys can download the app from there. They have the Android version and the Apple version, and you guys can tune in and watch the show and listen into the show, I should say. And then while you're there on the app, you guys, it'll take you out to the different social media sites that I have on there, from Twitter to Instagram, and I believe my LinkedIn is on there as well. So check it out. Always browse around. We do appreciate it. And for this evening, don't forget, it is Bleacher Brothers from 6 to 9 p.m. You have Talk Spicy with Coach Gene from 4 to 6 p.m. right here on the Riptide Media Network. And those shows can be seen as well on the bleacherbrothers.com. For this evening. So when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about Caitlin Clark and the at least good home presence that she had for a pregame or a preseason game, I should say, for the Fever. So she's making some buzz. A lot of people don't like that she's making buzz. May not have scored as many points she wanted to, but nonetheless, she is out there as a teammate, and a lot of folks are getting upset. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Here's a female athlete that is lighting the world on fire, and people are upset that she's doing so. I really don't get it. Maybe the WNBA will finally start getting their numbers pushed up. And there were some, I believe, 13,000 plus on hand. And if anybody remembers, there were maybe at maximum about 4,000 in attendance last year, maybe per game, or I think one game actually maxed out in that. So it's gonna be fun to see what they end up doing. Of course, the WNBA is getting ready here for their summer series, even though it's before the summer starts, but they end their season in the summer. But nonetheless, it's going to be nice to see that WNBA is back with some good players that were drafted from this year. Teams that are hoping, like the Las Vegas Aces, to make a back-to-back run. Has not been done in the WNBA. They could be the first to actually do so. So we'll get into that, a couple things more before the weekend begins for some folks. For me, it is the weekend, but it never ends, as work never stops one way or the other. So we shall be back after this break. Don't forget, you guys can still call and or text into the show at 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. And of course, you can make your comments here live on the social medias on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Rumble, and LinkedIn. And thanks to the folks on LinkedIn, this time you guys didn't get kicked out at 11 o'clock because I restarted everything here so that you guys can stay with us until the 12 o'clock hour. So don't forget, Martinez and Defo here, Unscripted, 10 to 12, Monday through Friday, here on the Riptide Media Network. You have the Pete Sheppard Show from 7 to 10 a.m. with Pete Sheppard and myself as I run things in the background and I pop on the screen from time to time. That's from 7 to 10 a.m. Normally on Mondays, you have Toby Schulman with the MLB Dugout. You can see that from 12 to 1 p.m. right here on Riptide. And then Talk Spicy with Coach Gene from 4 to 6 and Bleacher Brothers from 6 to 9 p.m. And don't forget, on Saturdays from 10 to 12, it is also eligible with Joe Q as he breaks down the horse racing show for you guys. And because, as Defo said, we're in between coming up on the Preakness, he should give the breakdown of which horse you should be looking out for if you gamble or if you just want to play the odds. So we'll get into that stuff and a little bit more as the weekend. For some folks, it was only about 24 minutes away. For me, not so much, but I still enjoy it. Thank you all for listening here to the Riptide Media Network. I am Angel Martinez, and you are listening live on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. I'll be right back.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true.
By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, groan-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And, with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding.
Whoa!
Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Final segment here. Martinez and Defoe before the weekend. Martinez and Defoe unscripted. I am Angel Martinez. Jeff Defoe DeForest is out somewhere, heading out to Miami as he does a Friday afternoon cooking show. Not Friday night. Does some cooking thing, I think, possibly. With his former co-host that I believe they still do shows together as well. So that's where Defoe is. So if you guys don't see him on here, it's because he exits out early on Friday to make sure he can get there on time, because of you guys have heard throughout the week here, it gets to be pretty crazy in the Miami area. Tons of traffic. Miami, Lauderdale, all them areas in between, Sunrise as well. So he tries to head out early to make sure he makes it out there on time. And then I just pick up the ball and run with it here until the noontime hour. So before we went into the break, and this is bizarre, before, as I'm running multiple things here. But as we went into the break here, the one thing that I was talking about was that you have, for example, Caitlin Clark, who for the first time played in front of her hometown crowd. And from what was understood, there was about 13,000 people there at the venue. And apparently from floor to ceiling, there was the number 22 jersey in play last night. Now, I don't know why, and I've yet to understand this, and maybe you guys and girls can make me understand it as well. How are you upset? Either A, because of the game that she plays, and or the popularity, and or the combination of the both, because I don't understand it. Here we are. She's able to play this game remarkably well, had a massive following in college, transitions over now to WNBA, and you think the WNBA would be beyond excited to sell these tickets, especially with the Indiana Fever. You know, they're looking for big things. As long as she doesn't get injured, we hope that no athlete gets injured as the season begins or ends, or even during the playoffs. But she was really happy and content as far as being in front of the hometown crowd. Walked away with the win, more importantly. But it's just, I am baffled to understand why people are so upset at her game. It doesn't make any sense to me. Now, teammate that came from, obviously, from the last year's college draft into this year. Some of the girls that are on the team, some of the ladies, excuse me, not girls, I apologize. Some of the ladies are on the team. They're only about a year or two separated from college. So it's a good young nucleus there in Indiana. And I think they'll end up doing well. The one thing that still kind of gets me a little bit when it comes to WNBA is, how is it now? You guys are now getting into the regular season. You're playing a couple games in a preseason, then you get to the regular season. Now, maybe because I'm blind to it and I have no idea. And I know Tampa doesn't have a team for the most part. Florida does not have a team yet, but they are still looking to expand. But how are you not advertising everywhere about the WNBA? And I know, you can find it on the social media, so don't get me wrong, but even if you don't have a local market team, how are you not pushing this product out there? And I think that's the one hindrance that the WNBA has had since the inception of it, is that it comes around. We know it's a short, condensed season. They play as the NBA is getting ready to exit out of playoffs and play for the title. And then come the Summer League games. And even though the Summer League games shouldn't be that big of a deal, but there's a lot of people that head out to Vegas to watch all the Summer League action. I was there last season with David and Evelyn Magley, as the basketball league was out there during the Summer League as well. And we happened to catch a couple games over there at the complex. And there's tons of fans that come in and out of there, out of UNLV complex over there. And I don't get it. How does the WNBA not capitalize? I don't know what their advertisement dollars are. Are they just too cheap, or is there not that many people that come and enjoy their team? Obviously, the Las Vegas Aces, when we're out there in Vegas, you can see the billboards around town and you can see the promotion there. But I would just think, me seeing that it's time for the WNBA season to kick off, why not spend that money and push it out there? I just don't get it. Don't know how a summer league that means absolutely nothing other than teams and guys who have been drafted last year. For example, Victor Wembanyama was the big thing last summer out there in Vegas. And I get it, because you have to get your team roster. You have to kind of see who you want. If you don't have a good enough nucleus, then you're looking at guys that come from the G League. They're now trying to come into the NBA and vice versa. Now you think you have what it takes to make an NBA, but you don't. And so they put you as a place card holder out there with the G League. And so I don't know. Call me nuts. I don't get it. I just think they should be spending a lot more money when it comes to WNBA. That's the only way you're going to keep pushing this product consistently. And if you don't, I don't know what you're waiting for. You would think by now, and I know overseas, it seems like they tend to push it a little bit more. I know a lot of the ladies who leave from college tend to play overseas as well. You have Candace Parker, for example, came out of college, went into the WNBA, but made more money and was successful, if not more successful, overseas. But then she played the double duty where she played overseas and then came back here stateside to be able to play the WNBA season. Took off, I think it was like a week or two, went back overseas again to start playing there. And God bless her because she's made a lot of money. She's now retired. Apparently is going to keep pushing a promotion with Nike. Nike has invested, or excuse me, Adidas has invested a lot of money into her as well. So it'll be interesting to see how she ends up pushing herself. And I think she should be, honestly, somewhere on a broadcast, but it's not something that she hasn't said no to as of yet. So we could see her potentially on a broadcast near you. But another one, great athlete, great female athlete who made something of herself, put something together for her family for the future, so she's not out with a ton of money. We've seen a lot of athletes come into the league and then blow their money on what I have no idea, but we've seen it. Allen Iverson's one of those guys. Came out of college, came out of Georgetown, went to Philly, played in the NBA, and I don't know if to this day or he finally rectified. He had a lot of money he had owed to Vegas, and I think that finally may have gone away. But it's another guy, and it's because of the people you surround yourself with. If you decide that you want to have this massive posse around you, the same people that say they'll be with you ride or die, but the minute the well dries up, it's like, listen, it was nice hanging out with you, cuz, but now I got to go and hang out with somebody else. There should be, and I think I've advocated for this before, is that you should have, you should start in high school. In high school, to me, it should be where you should know how much money to spend. What do you need to put away with? And if you're going to college, if you have a job and whether you try to, get a scholarship, some sort of fund, something where you're not upside down when you come out of college, because everybody knows, sure, other than the American dream is owning your house and maybe a white picket fence and the family and the dog and, what you see in the movies. The other thing is to try and get a college education. In this day and age, I don't know how much you want to do it because you have the way these institutions currently are what they're doing. You guys can see it out there with all the different protests and the agitators and stuff like that. But if you're going because, mom and dad went to Yale, or mom and dad went to Columbia, or mom and dad went to Duke, whatever the case may be, there should be some sort of at least a course to show you, like, here's what you should be doing with your money. So when you're done with school, maybe you either do that break even so that you don't end up owing anything, or at least when you're done with school, all right, I have X amount of dollars and maybe I have 10,000, let's just say, left and grants or whatever it case to be, so you can offset those costs and not go over under as many people do. But again, Candace Parker figured out a way how to make sure that she came out on top when it was time for her to retire. And I'm quite sure she's going to be missed in the WNBA, but she'll still be involved nonetheless. But Caitlin Clark, again, with the 83-80 win, where I was getting to in the first place as well, out there with Indiana Fever, I don't understand. It's blowing my mind how there's a lot of people that just don't want to see her succeed. I don't know why. I just don't get it. I mean, Angel Reese is doing well for herself. There's a bunch of other players that are doing well for themselves. And we all want to see all these ladies succeed. I don't want to see her fail. I don't want to see Angel Reese fail. I don't want to see any of the ladies that came out of the draft this year fail. Yet alone the ones that are WNBA, but they need to start reinventing that wheel and figuring out how can they push their product even more. Or start expanding and see if you can add to the schedule. It's a shame it's as short as it is. I mean, it's almost as short as the AFL season. And who knows if that'll get extended come next year. But I'm enjoying the AFL season so far this year. And by the way, tomorrow, speaking of, there will be a sports segment tomorrow with Vid 96.1 with Alonso and Israel. They'll be on Sports Radio 102.9 from 12 to 1. It is a new weekly sports segment that they're doing in Spanish. So for my Latin friends out there, you guys, pardon me, as I got choked up. You guys can tune into Sports Radio 102.9 at 12 o'clock tomorrow and listen to us go back and forth about the game that was just played last week, the game that was not played this week because of Voodoo had some communication issues and couldn't play the game. But then next week, of course, the team travels out to Texas to play the Desert Hawks. So that'll be from 12 to 1. And also eligible with Joe Q from 10 to 12. That is the Saturday lineup. And then if you guys listen, y'all like to party with the music, whether it be in country or rock or old school or, like me with my dance music, tune in to Sports Radio 102.9 FM over the weekend, because you'll get a very taste of the best of shows, and then mixed in with some good music where you guys can dance. If you like, washing your car, doing whatever you're doing, you can come out here and enjoy it. By the way, it seems like the breaking news, as Pete talked about this morning, but it's going to happen, where the Suns reportedly plan to hire Mike Budenholzer as the coach for the Suns. That's another team too. It's going through many changes. And then you have, some guys saying that they should have stayed where they were before. Some guys don't believe in the product. Is it an Arizona thing? Is it in Arizona? They just can't, for some reason, something is in the air out there. Is it because is it the heat? I have no idea what's going on in Arizona, but it just seems like, the only ones that have gotten their act together is the Arizona Diamondbacks. We saw how close it came to them winning a title last year. So I don't know. The Suns are just kind of blowing my mind. Kevin Durant saying that he wished he would have stayed with Golden State. I don't know how I feel if I'm the owner of the Suns. Like, how do I feel? I have a current player on my roster that's saying that he preferred to be with another team. Now listen, we're all at free will to say whatever we want to say, but it's kind of harsh, because you think, like, don't you want to be here? But it's Kevin Durant. I guess he can write his own check wherever he wants to go or play where he wants to. And they might trade him. It could be a possibility. They could just turn around and trade him and say, you know what? You don't want to be here? That's fine with us. Hit the bricks. I don't know. But Kevin Durant's still got some life left in his legs. So it's just such an interesting situation out there in Arizona. You just lost your hockey team out there. They're moving out to Utah. And the fans, I'm pretty sure, I would love to get it. And if someone from Arizona to call in just to kind of give me the vibe of what's going on out there, but that's quite harsh. It's quite harsh. I don't know. I don't get it. The NFL is coming around with some of their training camps. Some of them are going really well. Some other ones, guys are waiting to see how their season is going to end up playing out. We saw what happened during the draft. It seems like and again, I'm not a guy to give out all kind of grades or who did the best, this and that. And only in my own opinion, I think the Eagles did really well. Again, and I'm not trying to do it as a bias thing. I think Howie Roseman, somehow or another, once again, this guy works his magic. I don't know how they do it, but they get the job done. Who knows what's going to happen with the Patriots? You guys heard me talking about with Pete Sheppard this morning. They're going to be intriguing to see what's going to happen with the Patriots. And I was not a Belichick fan. Post now the Patriots and watch them on the roast. I never saw that side of Bill. Never saw it. So who knew that was going to end up happening? Gas Pump Guy says, who do you think LeBron will hire as a new Lakers coach? LOL. And that's true. Gas Pump Guy is right. Listen, you guys, everybody knows that LeBron James runs whatever team he goes to. But supposedly it's supposed to be J.J. Redick, because one of the players absolutely loves J.J. Redick. They want him to come in as a head coach. Great ball player. Don't know what he's going to do as a head coach, but that's who he's supposed to be. So everybody knows it. It's just like Bronny. Basically, LeBron's going to tell whatever team that, hey, you need to invest in my son. I think he should have stayed for another season or two in college. Keep working up your fundamentals, then go out there and play. But I think LeBron had waited for one of his two sons to come out in the NBA and play so he can play either with them or against them, and then just finally hang it up and say, that's it. Still playing a good game. I can't take that away from him. Still playing a good game, but eventually, you want to keep your legs and your ankles and your knees so you can keep doing stuff with the family. But I'm dying to see too, Gas Pump Guy. I want to see who the Lakers decide they want to pick up. It could be J.J. Redick. I don't know, but it will be very, very interesting to see. So NFL mini camps are around. You guys know it starts to ramp up here in May. Then different teams have their different offset weeks. And then we start hearing them kind of going away. Then you have the mandatory mini camp before they go away for 2 weeks and then start finally in the summertime for a training camp to begin. So with the rule change too, with the kickoff, that should be really interesting to see how that's going to take part of it. Someone had mentioned about Justin Fields returning punt returns and kickoff returns. I don't see it. Why would you acquire a quarterback who could potentially be the starter and then try to get the guy's head knocked off even before he gets to throw his first ball? I don't get that. Pittsburgh, hopefully that's a fluke. And hopefully Justin Fields doesn't agree to that because I just can't see it. So the weekend is here. It's coming up. I'm going to leave you guys with some good party music here with David Guetta. But more importantly, we can't thank you guys and ladies enough for tuning in, whether it being for the Pete Sheppard Show, for myself and Defo, for Talk Spicy with Toby, with Coach Gene, Talk Spicy MLB Dugout with Joe Q, also eligible. The Bleacher Brothers, those guys work so hard from 6 to 9 p.m. Don't forget, you can make your bets on bleacherbrothers.com at BleacherBet. But thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for also downloading the audio so you guys can hear what we end up doing here. It's a lot of work to put this all together. I have fun doing so, even though it drives me bananas. But that's what I do. I enjoy being an executive producer here at Riptide Media Network. I love doing what I do with my own network at Broad Street South. And more importantly, entertaining the folks that listen in on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game, the app. And so it's great. Here in a couple of weeks, I will be off for more than likely 3 or 4 days as I get to marry the most important person in my life that has been with me through thick and thin, starting the network here. And I cannot say enough good things about my awesome fiance because she has been through it with me. And I'm 35 days away. It's like, that's my Super Bowl. Out of everything in life, that is my Super Bowl. And I can't wait. It's going to be fun to get that elusive ring that unfortunately I couldn't do as an athlete. I'll definitely do in a marriage. So thank you to her because she knows there's times I do go ballistic. Not with her at all, period. And she'll be the first one to tell you, I go ballistic when things don't go right because I'm just innerly retentive when things should sound and look good. So thank you to Debbie. Love her to death. Been together for 5 years. I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with her. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. And maybe one day she'll pop in so you guys can see and hear her. But as Pete says, she does have a funny laugh. I love the way she laughs. And just a great person. The entire family I've gotten to get to know and absolutely love them all to death. So with that being said, don't forget, starting Monday morning, we'll be back here again. Pete and I on the Pete Sheppard Show from 7 to 10 a.m. and then followed by Martinez and Defo Unscripted here on the Riptide Media Network. And then Toby Schulman kicks it off at 12 o'clock from 12 to 1 with MLB Dugout. And then from 4 to 6 p.m. it is Coach Gene, Talk Spicy, Bleacher Brothers. On Wednesday, basically the lineup remains the same, minus Tuesday. On Wednesday, you have White Noise with Gerald White from 12 to 1, and then Toby comes back from 12 to 1 on Thursday. So thank you all once again for tuning in. We do appreciate you guys all being with us. I can't say enough because without you guys, we wouldn't have this network. I wouldn't have a sports radio station, and I can't thank you enough. Thank you to Gas Pump Guy, Jerry, Rhode Island, everyone who sends a message, Rick Marcus, just all you guys for tuning in. Enjoy the upcoming weekend. Have fun. Take care of yourselves. Make sure you are safe in whatever you may do or whatever you may get into. But more importantly, make sure that you love yourselves. And if you need help, always reach out to someone. Thank you once again. We'll leave you with this. I am Angel Martinez. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.